What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue with our 2023 college football predictions for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Houston Cougars, a team coming off a decent season in 2022. They were 8-5 overall last year. This is a team that I was really high on last year before they became a Power 5 team. So now they're a Power 5 team. They are now going into their first year in the Big 12. And if you haven't seen my other three newcomer prediction videos with Cincinnati, BYU, and UCF, you can go back and watch those videos. They'll be in the playlist down in the description. So Houston coming off an 8-5 season in 2022. How would they look at 2023? My thoughts on them, I think they're going to be pretty good on the offensive side of the football. They're absolutely loaded at wide receiver. They have a transfer coming in at quarterback from Texas Tech, so we'll see how he does. I think Houston's offense is going to be pretty explosive. Defensively is what I'm concerned about for this Cougars team. But you look at the schedule this year for Houston, they'll play UTSA, Rice on the road, and Sam Houston, the non-conference. So they do have a pretty favorable non-conference schedule. Of course, Rice is a rival game. That will be on the road on September the 9th, but I really don't see Houston having any problems in that game. And then you look at the Big 12 schedule. They get TCU at home. They will play Kansas State on the road as well. And they'll also play Texas at home. So you have the, top three teams, from last year, probably in the Big 12. No Oklahoma on the schedule. That's the good news. No BYU on the schedule, which is the good news as well. So you avoid all the newcomers in the Big 12, but really I think that should be a pretty much a big win for a schedule for Houston. But let's go game by game now and give you an official prediction for this Houston team. So they start things off here with UTSA on September 2nd. This is not going to be an easy game here for Houston. UTSA, probably one of the top group of 5 teams from last year. They were 11-2 last year, so I'm kind of expecting this team to be really good, really competitive in this game. But Houston is playing at home in this one. I think they get off to a really slow start in the first half. Second half, I think the Cougars start to pull away, and I think Houston doesn't win in a blowout. I think this will be a close game. So I think Houston will start out 1-0, but it won't be a game that's going to be a blowout. I think UTSA will compete in that game. That is a really good group of 5 teams. So I think Houston will start out 1-0. Then they'll play Rice on the road here on September 9th. This is a rival game. You never know what can happen between these two teams. But I think Houston is the better overall roster in this game. I know defensively, like I said, I'm concerned about Houston. I think this is a shootout. I think this will be a shootout here between Rice and Houston, but don't really know much about Rice. I don't know how good they're going to be, so I think Houston will win this one by at least about a touchdown or maybe a couple touchdowns. So I think Houston will start out 2-0. Then they'll play TCU on September 16th to open up Big 12 play. TCU, like I said, I'm kind of concerned about the offensive side of the football for them. Defensively, I'm not too concerned. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think, Houston playing at home gives them a big advantage, but this is going to be a defensive battle, low-scoring type game. I think the offense for Houston will have a hard time moving on the defense for TCU. Both defenses will be ready for this one. And I think Houston, though, with home field advantage in a close 50-50 type matchup, I think they get it done. I think Houston defeats TCU here and gets their first Big 12 win of their 2023 season and their first in program history. And I think they also take care of business against Sam Houston. So I got Houston starting out 4-0. Then they'll play Texas Tech on the road here on September 30th. And interestingly, here in this game, Houston's got a transfer coming over at quarterback from Texas Tech. So this will be pretty much an emotional game for him. But Texas Tech, I think, is going to be a top 25 team this year. I'm really high on this Red Raiders team. They do have a tough schedule, but I think Texas Tech is going to wind up being a top 25 team perhaps. I could expect a shootout here between these two teams. Like I said, I am concerned about the Houston defense this year, and I think Texas Tech can probably hold Houston to maybe a lower scoring in this game. I think Texas Tech defense is really too talented, and I think Houston will lose their first game of the season here on the road at Texas Tech. So I got Houston losing their first Big 12 game of the season, and obviously losing their first game here, and I got them falling to 4-1. Then they'll play West Virginia at home here on October 12th. This game is going to be on a Thursday night. West Virginia, like I said, I don't expect to be all that terrible this year. I think they're going to be a pretty decent team. I don't think they're right there in the top tiers, though, of the Big 12, but I think they're definitely going to be a decent team. This is a home game for Houston, and they get a bye week before playing this game. I think coming after a loss to Texas Tech, the bye week will really motivate this Houston team well enough to get a win here over West Virginia. it will be a close game, but I think Houston's offense will be ready for this one, and I think they score a lot of points in this one, so I think Houston will win that one against West Virginia, and that puts their record at 5-1. Then they'll play Texas at home here on October 21st. Looking forward to this matchup, but it will pretty much be the last time that we'll see these two teams play in the Big 12 because Texas is moving on to the SEC next year. So I kind of wish this was a game that was kind of be playing every single year now, but Houston obviously is at home in this game. Texas, though, I think has way too much talent on their roster. I think they're going to be more better than Houston. And defensively, like I said, I think Houston's defense is going to have a hard time stopping this offense of Texas. I think this is going to be a very explosive offense of Texas. And I don't think it will be enough for an upset. I think the game is close in the first half, but second half, the Longhorns will pull away. And I think Texas wins a close one over Houston. So I think Texas will give Houston their second loss here and give them their second loss in the Big 12. Then they'll play Kansas State on the road here on October 28th, the defending Big 12 champions. Kansas State's going to be a pretty good team this year. I think I kind of expect them to take a step back year this year, but I don't really think they're going to be all that terrible. I think they just take a step back year this year, but this Houston team is heading on the road in this game. Do I expect them to compete in this game? Yes, but it's in the first half. It's kind of similar to the Texas game. I think the Wildcats are way too much talented on their roster, and I think Kansas State will win here and pull away in the second half. So I think Houston will lose that one on the road at Kansas State. That puts their record at 5-3. Then they'll play Baylor on the road here on November 4th. So you got back-to-back road games here with Kansas State and Baylor. Baylor, obviously, I think should be a lot better than they were last year. I think both rosters are pretty similar in this game. Baylor, though, I think has the more experience of a defensive team. Houston, like I said, I think their defense is kind of, really going to take a step back. But I think they're better by this time. I think Houston's defense will be better by this time here in the month of November. However, it's on the road. It's too tough of a place to play. I really don't see Houston beating Baylor here, but I think it's a shootout here. I think Baylor, though, wins it here with home field advantage coming down to the wire. So I think Houston will lose that game. So I got Houston on a 3-game losing streak, and that puts their record at 5-4. They'll play Cincinnati at home, though, on November 11th here. Look forward to this matchup every single year between Houston and Cincinnati. These two teams are at the top of the American Athletic over the years. Cincinnati, though, loses a lot of production from last year. And I am kind of concerned about Cincinnati on both sides of the football. They don't have a lot of talent from where they were last year, but I think this is still a team that can make it to a bowl game. I don't think it will be enough to defeat Houston, though, here on the road. I think Houston will win pretty easily over Cincinnati. I think it will be a close game, but I think Houston's got the better overall talent in this one, the more experience in this roster as well. So I think Houston will win a game here against Cincinnati at home. That gets them to a bowl game. They improved to 6-4. Then they'll play Oklahoma State at home on November 18th. Oklahoma State's going to be a team that's going to take a step back here as well. I think both of these teams are pretty similar. Like I said, Oklahoma State, I'm kind of concerned about their offense. Defensively, I'm not too concerned. But, Houston, I'm not concerned about the offense. I'm concerned about their defense. I think this is going to be a low-scoring type game. I think it will be a close one, but I think Houston, playing at home, will get it done. And I think they get their 7th win here and another win here in the Big 12. And I think they do defeat Oklahoma State here to improve to 7-4. Then they'll play UCF here to end things out on the road here on November 25th. UCF is going to be a pretty good team this year. Just did their prediction a couple days ago. And I am really high on UCF. You could tell right from the get-go I was really high on this team. I had them, going 7-5, and I did predict UCF to win this game, like I said a couple weeks or a couple days ago. This is going to be a close game, but I think UCF just has way too much talent on the defensive side of the football, and I think this will be a close one. But I think UCF playing at home will get it done, and I think UCF gives Houston their 5th loss of the season. And I have Houston losing that last game of the season to UCF on the road here on November 25th. So I think Houston finishes 7-5 for 2023 in their first year in the Big 12. I think that's a fair prediction because you get a really favorable non-conference schedule, and you also get TCU, Texas at home, West Virginia at home. You have to play Texas Tech, Kansas State, and Baylor on the road, but I think these are very winnable games for Houston. Like I said, I'm kind of concerned about the defense for Houston, but offensively, I think they can really win some close shootouts. I think all the games here on the schedule are almost close to being shootouts. Texas won't be a shootout. Kansas State won't be a shootout, but Texas Tech, Baylor, UCF, I think, are all shootouts in this game, and maybe Rice as well. I mean, Rice is a rival game. You never know what can happen, but I think Houston is the better overall roster in that game. So I got Houston finishing 2023 with a record of 7-5. Could this team make a jump here into the Big 12 in their first year, or also make a jump into the top 25? We'll find out. Let me guys know what you think about Houston's Houston here. What do you think their record is here in 2023? What do you think they'll do in their first year in the Big 12? And how well do you think they'll do in their first year of the Big 12? And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.